All right, my friends, we're back again. I'm answering more questions on the gram at Daniel D. Piazza. If you want to ask me a question, and make sure you're subscribed and you like this channel so that when I answer it, you'll get the answer. You see how it works? It's a cycle. Okay, so this question comes from BMK Awesome, and he says basically he wants to know about mindset and how to overcome fear and how to become more growth mindset oriented. So it's a great question, and I think that we all deal with this a lot. You know, I have to tell you that I don't think it ever really stops. I think that there's this idea that as you become successful, you figure things out and then you don't always deal with the same challenges that you dealt with in the past. But that's not been my experience, and maybe I'm not successful enough. But I feel that you are constantly dealing with the same challenges presented in different ways. You know, even just recently I was talking to one of our team members, and the idea came up of like, you know, this is a constant evolutionary process. As you're learning to build a business, you're going to deal with constant ups and downs and constant waves. And you know, you probably don't know this, you never even have thought about it, but you can be inside of a wave or inside of what seems like a turbulent cycle or inside of what seems like a crisis moment, but still be on an upward trajectory. See, most people think that if you're having, a tough time, whether it's in business or in personal life, it means that your business or personal life is going downhill. But what I found is that, you can continue to be on an uphill trajectory even when things aren't going so well in the present day. And what that really means to me is that the growth mindset is the only thing that makes sense. You know, we have to look at the world with a sense of possibility rather than constriction. We have to be able to look at the world with a sense of, the question, not can I, but how can I? We know that with everything that's available to us nowadays, even just we're talking straight business, technologically speaking, if you're able to watch this, you can monetize something that you have in your mind and you can create a product or a service simply because these technologies exist. They are now democratized in a way where even in strict and harsh conditions where money is scarce, you can create something from nothing. Now, of course, it's not, there's a gap sometimes between knowing how to do something and being able to do it, but the fact is the tools are there and the information is there. And if you can develop the dedication and the discipline to be able to apply the information, the knowledge, and the tools, then you can do it. You absolutely can do it. And so the growth mindset is so important because you should constantly be thinking, how can I grow? How can I do better than I did just yesterday by 1%? How can I improve myself? Where are the areas that I need to be addressing that I am hiding from? What are the things that I'm scared of talking about that need to be, that need to be spoken of? And these are conversations that you can have just with yourself, or they can be conversations that you have with friends and family, but constantly pushing yourself to grow. And in the business sense, this is the only thing that we really have. The only thing we have as entrepreneurs is the growth mindset. If you are scared and stagnant, you will wither on the vine and die. And business it's what I like about it and what I hate about it is it's there's not really a gray zone. You're either growing or you're decaying. And especially in a capitalist society, there is a certain amount of cannibalism that's done around you by the other competitors in the space. Even if they're not directly competing against you, the nature of building a business is that you get squeezed out if you don't also exert some force. Now, that being said, as you exert yourself, you realize the space that you can grow into is infinite. So it's this dichotomy of not letting yourself be pushed into non-existence and really expanding what you want. And what that means is if you're going to start something and you're going to say you're going to do it, plant your flag in the ground and commit to it. If it's something simple like you want to start writing and become become a writer, then it's every day you're writing, and that's planting your flag and expanding your space. That's not saying, well, I'm going to think about being a writer but I'm not going to allow myself to express in that way. I'm just going to think about it. Well, as you express in that way and you make concrete physical actions towards that realization of yourself, you create a bigger imprint on your world around you, and that allows you to create more possibility because you're taking up more space. It becomes more real. The things that you do create the reality, right? And so you have to have that growth mindset of constantly pushing outwards, and then knowing that as you push outwards, your space is infinite and you can push outwards without having to push others away or to necessarily run over others. You can have everything that's meant for you and you don't have to take anything from anybody else. Although in some societies and in some cultures, that doesn't feel like it's the case. I believe it is. And so, the growth mindset is so important, and the fear element of it is a natural response to the heightened stakes. But this is what I say about fear. I say, I think we all have to go into this acknowledging that the fear is there, acknowledging that it's not going to go away. I haven't heard of one UFC fighter who goes into the ring and doesn't feel some sort of fear. It's not that the fear isn't there, it's processing that fear in a way that doesn't shut you down, but potentially encourages you, potentially arouses you, potentially excites you, or at least puts you in the zone. If you felt that feeling before, the more you feel it, the easier it is to push through it. So what I would say is don't fold to the fear. Allow yourself to process the fear of losing, the fear of dying, the fear of crying, the fear of hurting. Allow yourself to say, well, that is a possibility, and yet I still would like to do this, and yet I'm still doing this, and I'm still pushing forward. That is a possibility. I could lose, I could die, I could, and obviously gauge yourself for whatever it is you're doing, big asterisk here. Don't do something that's going to intentionally hurt yourself, but at the same time, understand that anything you undertake which has a bigger expansion for you is going to incur some risk, and that risk is necessarily going to create some fear. And that fear would be a natural response to you having stakes in the game. And once you acknowledge the stakes, you can continually weigh whether the stakes are worth the fear and still feel the fear, but do it anyway, as has been written about. So, I don't think you should ever wait for the fear to leave, because it's not going to. And if that's what you're waiting for, then you're going to be waiting for a long time. It's going to be very hard to wait that long and still never feel secure. You're going to have to be able to move without knowing exactly what's going to happen next. And that's really uncomfortable for a lot of people, because we like to know. We like to know what's going to happen. We like to be sure of ourselves. We like to have it figured out. We like to have it written down. And if it doesn't follow what we have written down or thought out, then it's wrong to us. But we have to accept that we can have a plan in place. That plan can get completely clobbered, and we would have to then redirect our energy back to the path. And so we're never dependent on a certain outcome to give us security. The security is in here, and the outcome is independent of the security, although it does feel great when they match up, doesn't it? So, we have to be able to move in spite of it, and to be able to expand in spite of the pressure and the temptation to contract and become small, which is the opposite of the growth mindset, and which is the opposite of courage. But that would be my advice. Work through the understanding that there's no amount of success that will wipe away the fear, and with that in mind, you develop a new relationship with fear, and you don't let it allow you to shrink, but you see it as a call to expand. And remember, no leader walks without a little bit of a limp. So don't expect to be able to lead yourself or others without taking a few arrows. And you won't always get credit for the arrows that you take, and you won't always get a pat on the back either. And you'll be looking around sometimes and be like, did you just see what I just did here? Like, I just accomplished X. I just wrote a book. I just ran a marathon. I just had a baby. I just got a promotion. And nobody is going to be there clapping for you, so you have to clap for yourself and still expand. And that's my tip for you for the day. So I hope that helps you to deal with a little bit of the uncertainty of having to be in this entrepreneurial space where you're constantly being forced to grow, and where expansion really is the only choice, and where fear is a daily presence, but something that we can always overcome and we always learn to play with. So that's my thing for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the Alpha Mentorship store if you haven't. I have tons of resources for entrepreneurs just like you to help you get more organized, get more clear, get your marketing better, get your messaging better, get your sales up, all that stuff. So alphamentorship.store. Check out all the other stuff in my description below, and I'll talk to you soon. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.